Next to me is the all-new fully electric BMW iX. It's got a range of 324 miles, a gorgeous interior, and it's packed with some really cool tech features. But is it worth its $100,000 price tag? Well, today, I'm gonna find out exactly that. Let's face it, for better or for worse, the world is going electric, and Tesla is currently dominating the game. Well, it's finally time for BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and the rest of the gang to take a crack at the EV market. And BMW has done so with their new crossover SUV, the iX. And its looks are, well, polarizing. On first glance, it is hard to love the front end of the iX with its large beaver teeth. But honestly, over time, the looks are starting to grow on me. A lot. While I still find the front grille of the G80 M3 silly, for some reason, with this futuristic design, really thin headlights, and these vents in the side, it actually flows together rather nicely. What's more is, there's this really thin polyurethane coating on the front grille that can actually heal itself. So if you get rock chips from a long road trip, or somebody decides to key your car, over 24 hours at room temperature, the front grille will heal itself completely. Or in just 5 minutes if you use hot air. Now check this out. If you press on the BMW roundel, it actually opens up to reveal a compartment to put the windshield washer fluid in it. How crazy is that? Now, annoyingly, BMW has decided with its packaging to not give you a front trunk. Most electric cars, like the Model Y or the Model X, have additional storage in the front. BMW has all of their components for the electrical and cooling up in the front. So yeah, you don't have any additional storage space, which honestly is kind of a bummer. Thankfully, the BMW iX is fast. It's not Tesla Model X Plaid fast, but it has enough power to throw you back into your seat decently hard. It's got 516 horsepower and 564 pound-feet of torque in this configuration, the xDrive 50i. And if that's not quick enough for you, they've actually got an up-and-coming M60 model that'll make 610 horsepower and 811 pound-feet of torque. Even the 50i version, because it's all-wheel drive, is able to sprint from 0 to 60 in just 4.4 seconds. The iX has a 111 kilowatt-hour battery pack with an all-electric range of 324 miles, which honestly is pretty impressive. It can also charge from 10 to 80% in just 30 minutes, so range anxiety is a thing of the past. Now, apparently, if you lease one of these, you even get 2 years of free charging. Not fully free, but if you're only charging up to about 50%, BMW will cover the cost. How cool is that? If you come around to the side of the iX, you'll notice there are no door handles. Instead, we've got these integrated slots in the doors with a little electronic release on the inside. I actually really like this design. When you open up the doors, it reveals these beautiful frameless windows, which I think look really cool. And you can also see part of the carbon fiber reinforced plastic chassis for weight savings. We've got massive wheels on this thing. In this case, they're 22s. You can option the wheels from 20-inch, 21, or 22s, and I think these look pretty good. Size-wise, the iX is almost identical in width and length to the BMW X5. Interestingly enough, the roofline is about the same height as the X6. While the front of the iX is controversial, the back is not. I think they knocked it out of the park with this design. The rear slim taillights are very futuristic, and everything flows together rather well. Interestingly, there's a little backup camera right here, and to make sure that it doesn't get dirty, the roundel actually opens up like in the front and then sprays the camera to make sure it's clean. How cool is that? Now, if we open up the rear of the iX, it reveals a decent amount of cargo space. You can make it significantly larger if you want to store bikes or bigger objects by clicking these 2 buttons here, which automatically fold down the second row seats. You can also pull this out so there's more height, but there is a good amount of room in here. Also, if you open up this lower compartment, they've got a portable air compressor in case your tires are flat. I think that's really awesome, and you've got a secret little compartment down here that most people might not know about. Interestingly, we've got integrated safety lights in the rear of the car. You also see the carbon fiber reinforced plastic, but the shape of these are identical to that on the Cullinan. It actually looks like a Cullinan when the rear trunk is open. Very interesting. Hopping inside the iX reveals an absolutely incredible interior. Seriously, the fit and finish is incredible, the design language is gorgeous, and it's so radically different from what I'm used to with BMW, it almost feels like it was made by a different brand. And I mean that in the best way possible. They seriously knocked it out of the park with this minimalistic yet futuristic design. There's almost so much going on, it's hard to think about what to talk about first. The crystallized controls throughout this car are absolutely gorgeous. Now, BMW has actually moved the seat controls onto the door like Mercedes. I very much enjoy this layout more than it being on the seat itself, especially if you wear a watch. Sometimes the distance between the door and the seat is too small and you scratch the crap out of your car and your watch. This just looks really nice. There are so many levels of adjustability. We've also got ventilation, massage functionality. Now, if we move on to the center console area here, the main controller for iDrive 8, which is fantastic, by the way, we'll talk more about that in a bit, is also crystallized, as is the volume controls, the gear selector, and the stop-start button. Now, the center console also has this upgraded walnut trim with this raised text on it for the different controls that you can actually feel with your finger. It feels really, really nice. So if we go ahead and click on it, it also has really satisfying haptic feedback. To turn on the iX, you put your foot on the brake and go ahead and tap the start-stop button right there in the center console. Now, to put it into drive, you pull back on this crystal lever one time. Now we're in drive. Now, if I click it a second time backwards, it puts it into B mode. I asked BMW what B stood for, and nobody could really give me an answer. It's as if nobody knows. I'm assuming it's something to do with brake. But essentially, when you're in B mode, you have much more intense regenerative braking, to the point where you can pretty much just drive with one pedal. You accelerate, and when you let off the accelerator pedal, the car slows it down very, very quickly. The seats in the iX are incredibly comfortable. The leather is such high quality, but they've got something really cool about them. If you opt for the upgraded Bowers & Wilkins speaker system, that is 1,600 watts and has 30 speakers, there are both speakers and magnetic shakers built into the seats themselves. So what does that mean in practicality? Well, if you're listening to a song with a lot of bass, your body vibrates with the bass as if you're in a nightclub with $1 million sound system. It's actually insane, and the 4D sound experience is really, really cool. Above me, you'll notice there is a massive panoramic roof. Not only does it provide incredible visibility and a cool view out the top of the iX, it also has an insanely cool feature called electrochromic glass. It actually has a thin layer of film inside of the glass. When an electric current passes through that film, there are these liquid crystals that arrange perfectly in a matrix, allowing light to shine through, like right now. Now, if the electric current goes away by clicking this button, the crystals scatter and don't allow light to come through. There is an awesome amount of space in the rear of the iX. I have so much legroom, so much headroom, and some cool creature comforts as well. I love the fact that the seats have integrated USB-C chargers in them. There's 2 on each side. How cool is that? There's also a little window here that you can attach accessories like a tray table or a coat hanger. We've also got this nice armrest with some cup holders that fold out. These are a little bit plasticky for a $100,000 car. They're very plasticky for a $100,000 car, but that's all right. You're probably not going to use those often. And we've got some climate controls back here. All right, back to the front. Back up front now, and we have the best phone holder of any car I have ever been in. Seriously, other manufacturers need to take note of this. Right at the front of the center console is a slot where you can slide in your phone. Fits perfectly, and you can see notifications when they pop up. But it also has a pass-through underneath to allow the dual USB charging ports right there to connect to your phone. There's also a wireless charging pad beneath the center console as well. I seriously love that layout. Well, to start our drive in the iX, I figured we'd do a launch control. So we're gonna go ahead and bring the car to a standstill and change it into sport mode. In order to do that, click the button that says My Modes here in the center console. It brings up a little display here where we can choose between personal, sport, and efficient. We're gonna go ahead and put it into sport. And off we go. Well, it's actually pretty quick. 0 to 60 happens in 4.4 seconds, and because of the instant torque of the electric motors, it actually does pull pretty darn hard. Now, one of the first things you notice in this car is how quiet it is. BMW didn't make any artificial electronic noises for the acceleration, so you hear nothing but wind. A little bit of the actual mechanical noises of the electric motors, but pretty much nothing other than that. Now, I will say the steering wheel is a little odd. It's hexagonally shaped. BMW says this is so you have a better view of the instrument cluster, and also to give a better experience behind the wheel when you're both driving and when the semi-autonomous driving takes over. What I've found is that there's no portion of the wheel that's actually vertical. So if you hold it down here at 9 and 3, your hands are kind of tilted outwards, like you're doing some sort of bicep curl. And if you hold it at 10 and 2, your hands are inwards and you don't feel like you have much control of the vehicle. The 9 and 3 position is kind of lacking, but the actual steering wheel itself, I love the design of it. The looks are fantastic and the quality is great as well. On the left side of the steering wheel, we have buttons for the adaptive cruise control. If you click the right sequence of buttons, it actually has assisted driving, so it can drive itself in the lanes, which is pretty awesome. One thing that I really like about the iX is, even if you're not in adaptive cruise control or assisted driving whatsoever, if you're driving along and you pull up behind a car, it will actually slowly brake itself using the regen brake. Now, we gotta talk about this massive display. It is gorgeous. The graphics are phenomenal. There are so many apps and different features, and just the design of it is awesome. It's not a tacked on iPad, it's a floating screen that fits so well in the car's interior. Finally, BMW has an interior that rivals Mercedes. For so long, it's just been kind of lackluster, but this I absolutely love. We've got a 12-inch screen for the instrument cluster, all of the important information like speed, navigation, charge, etc. And then on the right, we have everything else from climate controls to different apps, etc., etc. That is a 15-inch screen. Now you can control it using the multimedia control down here, or you can actually use it as a touchscreen. This is BMW's new iDrive 8, and it honestly works amazing, and the graphics are out of this world. There are so many different screens you can scroll through. You could literally get lost in this for hours. Now, if you want to adjust the climate controls, they've made it pretty easy because they've hidden almost all the buttons in the interior. They're pretty much just on the screen and right here. There's no hard controls for the climate control in the front, but at all times on the screen, you do have controls for the temperature right here. Now, if you want additional options, if you click climate menu, you have so many options, I don't even know what to do with it. From a heated steering wheel to heated seats, there's even radiant heated components, like the dash itself will heat up and radiate heat to warm you up even more. It's actually insane. Now, more on the technology side, we have one of the best heads-up displays I've ever seen in any car. It's massive, and it works so well in conjunction with the car's navigation. Speaking of navigation, when you have navigation pulled up on the screen, it actually has augmented reality and will overlay these small arrows on the screen to show you which lane to change into. It's particularly useful in roundabouts or freeway exits or complicated intersections. I absolutely love it. Going to make a U-turn right here to show off the iX's incredible turning radius. That's because it has the optional rear wheel steering. And honestly, for being a vehicle the size of an X5, it has the turning radius of something like a Mini Cooper or a Fiat 500. It actually feels like it can turn in parking lots way better than it should. Now let's talk about steering for a second. It's a little bit lackluster and has pretty much no communication whatsoever. Now look, it's not a sports car, and perhaps on the M60 or maybe on the iXM, if that ever comes out, it's going to have a much stiffer steering and actually have some more feedback. This though, it's so easy to drive. It's nice and light, and it just feels like it dances around on the road. It's so easy, but I do wish there was more communication in the steering wheel, because if you do really start to push it, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on with the front wheels. But it does actually get around corners pretty quickly, and the brakes are very progressive. They're not jerky whatsoever, and they don't have this instantaneous response that scares the crap out of your passengers. Where this car really shines is the technology and comfort. From the 4D sound system to this insane hyper screen of sorts, it really is awesome in here. The seats are so comfortable, and the air suspension soaks up bumps so unbelievably well. A lot of times in electric cars, they don't quite get the suspension right, and they're a little bit bouncy on the road. This feels like the ultimate luxury car. It rides so nicely. I'm even in sport mode right now, and it's just cruising over bumps like I'm riding on a cloud. Visibility is fantastic out of the front windshield. The hood is super low because we don't have an engine there, so You can see down almost like you're in a supercar of sorts. Over the shoulder, visibility is fantastic as well. Super easy car to drive, super practical, super comfortable, and overall, I'm really impressed. Look, for $100,000, you are getting a lot. The interior is absolutely gorgeous, it's comfortable, the tech is crazy. The only real question is, do you like the looks of it or not? I'm serious, in person, it grows on you, and I'm actually starting to like the look of this car, but I can understand people who don't. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.